Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, everybody! Oh, Jesus Christ! Hello everyone, welcome back to another movie analysis where we give you the basic rundown of movies and or critically pick them apart. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the movie Krampus. Now, we are going to be mostly looking at the ending. We will touch on the beginning for like a quick second, but I really want to take a look at the ending of this movie because it's probably one of the creepiest endings to a movie I have ever seen. And keep in mind, I watch a lot of horror, genuine horror that is meant to be completely scary, and this horror comedy had one of the creepiest endings. Now, before we get into it, let's go ahead and break down the story of what we've got so far. Krampus is the shadow of St. Nicholas. He is a German folklore, and when children misbehave, Krampus comes in and carries them to the underworld. That is the simplest version of this character I can give you. So he's built on lore. Awesome. And quite frankly, I think it's about time we had a darker Christmas movie other than Black Christmas, which we don't talk about because it's bad. So this movie starts off with a lighthearted comedy feel to it, and people start to think that, oh, it's just going to be this nice, pleasant story with a little bit of a spooky feel. Kind of like Scary Movie, just not as family friendly, I won't lie. But it ends up being quite different. The difference is, this movie has a lot of actual setups to horror. Let's take a look at the first scene that actually makes you feel fear, and that is when Beth goes out into the blizzard. Now, she starts to notice that there are things wrong, house is broken into, and then we see Krampus running along the rooftop, or at least some figure before we, know it's Krampus, even though it's the title. Well, then she runs over to the delivery van, of which the driver is frozen to death inside in fear. Ah, he's so scared. Booga booga. But then she tries to crawl underneath it. Then we see this Jack in the Box, and she is presumed dead. That was a very good scene. That was a terrifying scene, actually. And then later, when we actually revisit it, going into her boyfriend's house, we note that everything is just destroyed. It was as if Krampus just stormed right in. So we get this notion that Krampus was not taking his sweet time. Why? Because, well, their house had a fireplace that was on. Apparently, theirs didn't. This movie starts off with a reason that I actually don't like comedies. I don't. It starts off with this family that is just being completely rude and obnoxious to the other. For no reason, just, holiday banter, giving the old good stuff. But then we finally get an apology out of Howard at around 43 minutes in.
Hey, Tommy, I just want to say thanks for, saving my ass back there. And I just want to say I'm sorry for thinking you're such a spineless dick all these years.
Man, can we even consider that an apology? That sucked.
It doesn't excuse the behavior, and that's only because Tom saved his life. That's not really a big detail. I just found it to be important to me to be able to accept Howard as like a likable character, which he ended up being once I figured that out. When we have toys attacking and cookies attacking, the movie tends to be a bit silly at this point. That tension still is there. It doesn't let up. It's just like, oh, ha ha ha, a little bit of a chuckling, but still, you have a Jack in the Box eating children. That's pretty creepy. It's not as scary as the original Poltergeist. That's the movie that had the toys come alive, but it's pretty up there, I would say. Just a little bit more lighthearted because of Christmas and because, we still have the one lady who still can't cuss even though the thing ate her kids.
Hey! Give me back my kids, you butcher!
And of course, we get the backstory to Krampus and that he comes when all of Christmas hope and this Christmas spirit is lost. The grandma tells about how her entire village was pretty much wiped out. We get that. That's pretty neat. That's pretty nice. A little backstory. But let's get right to this ending now. And we're going to start actually 30 seconds before the end scene, or rather about a minute and a half. So we've got the kid coming out and he's like, hey, I take my wish back. I don't want you to take my family anymore. And that's great and dandy and all. But what you've really got to pay attention to is that Krampus looks at him like he's about to change, or rather his emotionless face says it, and then he doesn't, and he throws him all in the underworld, the one child, and then, he's like, hey, don't do it, and then he does it, because he's Krampus, and frick you. But let's look at how he wakes up now. We've got all that dialogue, and he says he wants Christmas to feel like it should be, and he wants all this to go back to normal, blah, 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 blah. He wakes up, and it's all back to normal. Now, at this point in the movie, I was a bit upset. I'm like, is this supposed to be like it's just a dream? They just blink together. No one else is acting anywhere out of the ordinary. They're just all like, hey, look at that. Heckin' G Willikers, we're back to normal. Isn't that neat? Nice. But then it starts to, pander out as a normal Christmas morning. Everyone's reunited. Oh, it's a fun, happy, joy time. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Until we unbox the bell. Once the bell is unwrapped and taken out of the box, we can start to see that everyone remembers exactly what happened. no one just wanted to talk about it. And why is that? Because they were terrified. They remember being carted away to the underworld. They remember the journey. They remember being attacked. They might not have any injuries. They might be in good spirits. But they're trapped in an eternal Christmas. That might not sound bad to children. Ooh, Christmas every day. My generation knows, thanks to the Fairly Odd Parents, that Christmas every day would get really annoying. It would get horrible. You couldn't go to work, which means you wouldn't have any money, because every day is a holiday, nothing ever happens, and quite frankly, presents every day would suck. But that's on the notion of they're aware that it's Christmas every day. What if every morning you woke up, you forgot? And that's like their punishment. That's their hell. And we notice that as it panders out, they're not the only family that this happened to. House after house in snow globes. In fact, it makes the snow globe thing even creepier because now, what if they're all just like that? What if those are punishments? We know they're not, but it's a notion that sits well in the underworld that Krampus just keeps the houses and families together of those he's fully kidnapped. Like, oh, I just wanted to keep the Christmas spirit alive, and Krampus is like, well, I mean, all right. You screwed up the first time, but I'll keep you together. Why not? That sounds funny to me. You know, don't want to Krampus my style, but shh.
Yo, man, that was terrible. I think I just got hepatitis. That was horrible.
But anyway, it's that notion that they're trapped in an eternal hell in a lighthearted Christmas movie where it's always Christmas, and they remembered. That's what made it creepier. When he had the bell and he held it, everyone around him stared at the bell. The grandma knew it. Aunt Dorothy knew it. I only remember a few of their characters' names, by the way. The kids noticed. Everybody noticed what the bell was. They remembered that Krampus was there. That feeling of dread. And then it dawned on them. What if we're actually in the underworld? And that's when the audience goes, oh, what if they're in the underworld? And it pans out. And we see that they are. That is a creepy ending.
Someone tried to say that this was like Krampus monitoring the families, but that wouldn't make any sense. See, the grandma already said that her village was never seen again. So that means they're gone. So they're gone. They're in the underworld now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
And quite the contrast to the lighthearted, happy-go-lucky Christmas movie that it was in the beginning. And then it had this terror factor, ends on a lighthearted note, and you think, oh, it's just one of those Hallmark movies where now they've learned their lesson, and ha 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 ha. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, everybody! Ho ho ho! But it's not. It's quite the psychological horror factor of, ugh. By the way, a few of these characters might look a little bit familiar. Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. I will see you all next time. Have a Merry Christmas, wonderful, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that other good stuff. Yeah, and yeah. Bye.
You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.